Hamburg's most famous street, the Reeperbahn, is in a constant state of change. However, for decades, 3 plots have tragically stood as eyesores. From the beginning of the 1980s, the red facade of the Spielbodenplatz 26. From the beginning of the 1990s, the plot on the corner of the Reeperbahn, Heinheuer Street. From 2013, the plot in the middle of the Spielbodenplatz, the former location of the Esso houses. In 2023, this unsatisfactory situation seems to be changing, and quickly. Although no planning application has been submitted for the plot in the middle of the Spielbodenplatz to build the so-called Paloma Quarter, 2 months ago the Spielbodenplatz 26 was converted into a wine garden, a development which became the subject of my first documentary on this channel, while a development on the corner of the Reeperbahn Heinheuer Street, the subject of this video, seems imminent. Hello and welcome to my channel Reeperbahn TV, where we talk about the then and now of Hamburg's red light and entertainment district. As mentioned earlier, let's take a closer look at the Reeperbahn 80, but please stay tuned until the end of the video for some bonus information about how St. Pauli's most expensive property became the source of a political scandal. At the beginning of the 20th century, the Viennese Café Martins was located on the site. However, this was destroyed in a bombing raid during the Second World War. Out of the ruins, a small snack bar called At the Hot Corner was opened. Although there is little historical record, this 24-hour food outlet seems to have been truly legendary, as its sale to property developers in the 1990s inspired Germany's most successful musical of the same name, which, after more than 20 years, is still running at the Schmitz Tivoli Theatre opposite. That is, after being seen by more than 3 million visitors in 5,000 performances. After selling Hamburg's best-known snack bar to Burim Osmani for almost 2 million Deutschmarks, or more than 1 million euros, which was the equivalent of 10,000 marks or 5,000 euros per square meter, thus possibly the most expensive property on St. Pauli at the time, Osmani bought some of the neighbouring properties that would enable him to build a large Osmani tower. However, after Osmani's arrest and subsequent imprisonment for obtaining fraudulent bank loans worth millions of euros, none of these projects were ever realised. However, the latest building application seems to be different. Let's take a look at the timeline of recent events. In 2012, an application was made to build a 6-storey hotel with 117 rooms. The proposed hotel would also house a restaurant on the ground floor, a nightclub in the basement, and a media wall on the facade. 3.5 years later, the planning application was approved. In 2020, building work began with the fencing off of the site and the subsequent demolition of neighbouring buildings in 2021. 1 year later, civil engineering works were carried out. Before that, the necessary structural engineering had to be completed with board pile walls and shoring beams, coupled with complex cross bracing to secure the neighbouring buildings. In the summer of 2023, the civil engineering work was completed, and then a crane was erected so that the structural work could begin. When looking at this interesting development, 2 questions in particular come to mind. Why has progress been so slow? Apart from the erection of a 2-metre high fence, little seems to have happened on the site since the application was approved. That is at least how the local Hamburg press reported it. This impression is also reinforced by the official website, which offers hardly any information apart from the new hotel will appear shortly, and the civil engineering work is very challenging but on schedule. However, project manager Jörg Leinhorst explained the 5-year gap between the building permit and the start of construction as follows. I have been the new project manager since 2017. Nevertheless, construction was not allowed because many of the tasks from the building permit had to be processed by the new project manager in a time-consuming and costly manner. In addition, the club in the basement extended the planning, as is typical for the area. Jörg Leinhorst then went on to say, there was a delay during the corona crisis. The planners often work fewer hours and from home. Commenting further, Leinhorst pointed out the enormous complexity of the project, the plans of which, as we have just seen, had to be constantly revised. After the planning disruption, the project has restarted. This mainly affected the civil engineering, which had to be carefully considered, but this is normal. The crane is in place and things are moving forward. The foundation of the site for a crane with an elaborate foundation must also be properly planned. However, in the end, we reached a depth of about 9 meters. The other question is, who are the people behind the project? For reasons of data protection, it has not yet been possible to find out who owns the land. However, it is suspected that Burim Osmani was still the building owner in 2017, in other words, after the building application was made. As promised, here is a little piece of extra information about the plot. This small piece of land was also responsible for a certain political scandal. Mario Medbach, then head of the Building and Planning Department, was accused of having maintained close contacts with the property owner, Burim Osmani, possibly even endorsing land deals involving properties owned by the Albanian, while holding a public office. The result was the termination of Medbach's contract due to a conflict of interests. If you found this subject of this video interesting and would like to see more such videos about Hamburg's red light and entertainment district, then please hit the like button or consider subscribing. Finally, for those interested in learning more about the Reeperbahn, then I recommend my book Reeperbahn Tour, a location history of an entertainment district. Imagine the scenario: you wake up in Pauli still in a state of fermentation from the previous evening, having had breakfast, which consisted of a cup of coffee, a paracetamol sandwich and a good cough. With a few hours to spare, you decide to take a stroll before you can reasonably expect to repeat the excesses of the night before. However, with no clear source of orientation, you don't know where to go or what to look at, let alone where to start. This is where the Reeperbahn Tour book comes in. As a one-stop source of information, this guidebook offers various themed tours, though you could actually start at any page in the book. The tours include things such as the history of street names as well as film and music locations, including of course every location the Beatles played at. Each tour takes you around a series of locations which share a common theme. A double page is then dedicated to each location, the address of which acts as the title at the top of the page and can be quickly found with a smartphone, though almost all of the locations are in the immediate vicinity. On the left-hand page of this spread, the text puts the location into its historic context and present-day context. On the right-hand page, one historic and one recent photo contrasts how that particular location has changed over time. The most important locations enjoy multiple texts which also have multiple photos. Best of all though, with more than 175 pictures, including almost all of St. Pauli's most important historical images, which have all been colorized, this stunning large format book also serves as the perfect memento once your visit is over. For more information, visit reeperbahnTV.com. Thanks for watching. Until next time.